Welcome back to Shabby Shack Studio, friends, as we get busy and create some sweet little gift cards as we paint loose white flowers together. Now, I know it's been ages. I know I haven't had a lot of time to put some watercolors up, and I have received your messages, and thank you very much for checking in on me. Um, I'm always biting off more than I can chew. The studio has been busy. I've been teaching again as well. In fact, I actually want to do some workshops this Christmas or before Christmas, but again, slow down, girlfriend. Try to give yourself time to do all the things, breathe in and out, eat, rest, all those things. Anyway, so if you've been here a minute, you know that watercolor is definitely my thing, and watercoloring and creating on a budget is definitely our thing. So if you know that I'm a fan of Mont paper and its affordability, budget conscious, and it's not because I'm affiliated with them, because I'm definitely not. They have shared some of my artwork on their socials, which has been wonderful, but that has been a matter of them just reaching out to me at different times and saying, hey, can we share some of your work? And I'm always like, yeah, of course you can, that'd be great. So but that is just a matter of that I do actually love their cards, and I love the affordability of them, and we are all about being budget conscious here on the channel, because let's face it, although our artistic and creative need may be deep and come from way deep in our soul, quite often our pockets do not stretch to super expensive supplies, and definitely not to paper that if you decide that you're not feeling it or you're not loving what you've created, that you then feel like, wow, that was super expensive. And quite honestly, I definitely still suffer from that kind of not good enough artist's brain that means we are so critical of our work. So the last thing I need is the pressure of expense as well. My paints are a beautiful Van Gogh series. They are a professional series, but a very affordable one. They actually come in a set of 24, so you actually get all these little half pans of paint. They go a long way. I do paint quite a lot, even if you haven't seen it on the channel. Being super busy in the studio, I'm always working with PR companies, licensing, creating my own textiles, my own pieces, and again, as I said, want to be doing some workshops and things soon, but again, all those things take time. So I have these lovely paints that were gifted to me by my family. They were something that I put on my Christmas list a couple of years ago, and despite all my painting, you can see that there's still lots of lovely paint in those pans. And you can actually buy these little pans individually, which I just adore, because it means that you can just buy, if you have a favorite. I actually added a beautiful metallic gold recently to my set. So my actual little timber box that they came in has space for extras to be added, which again is wonderful. It comes with an acrylic palette and brushes and all those things as well. I just prefer to use my pottery one that you can see there on the left that I picked up at H&M. It was just on a discount rack, but it's got all little sections in it. And again, I have such an organic style that it spoke to me. Definitely prefer the pottery to plastic. In regards to brushes, this is my favorite that I picked up in Barcelona when we were on holiday. Has a nice little timber handle. Again, it's an acrylic brush. It isn't animal fur. It isn't expensive. It was like €2. But again, when I pick it up, I kind of go to that happy place. It's a lovely memory for me. So again, budget conscious. But in this case, I have the brushes that came with the set, which are undoubtedly more expensive. But I love the fat belly on this brush. It holds lots of moisture, and I love the lovely fine tip, which means that I can get in there and just dab in some color, like you can see. And I have lots of control, so I can actually do everything with one brush. And everything that you see on my channel thus far that is watercolor is done with one brush. I've never put another brush down in any of those tutorials and picked up another one in order to finish the job. probably something I need to investigate and do with you guys. So any recommendations, pop them for me below, because I do, you know, we're always learning. I don't pretend to know everything. I just like what I do, and if this speaks to you and you would like to create some loose watercolors with me and you like the style, then yeah, and if you get something from that, that's fantastic. Or if it just inspires you to pick up your favorite paints and brushes and paint along, then you know what, I'm a happy camper. And if you do want to support the channel, then it costs nothing, nothing at all. Hit subscribe and you'll see the videos, you'll get notified when they're on. You can turn the notifications off if you prefer to just pop in when it suits you and have a look when it suits you. By all means, do that. I know that all the socials always want to be telling us that somebody said this or somebody posted that, and it drives you a little bit bonkers, especially when you want to live in the moment and be with your loves. So you don't need to turn those notifications on. But if something does interest you, then that's always a nice option too. And with regard to these beautiful loose white flowers, I was so really feeling the love this day when I was painting these, and I am going to come back in with ink at the moment at the end as well. But I was really having so much fun that I decided to create another page, and that will be the cover of my September Bujo. So again, for you guys that are new to all of this, Bujo is bullet journal. So I do a lot of journals as well on my page that I actually use day to day, month to month, year to year. So they do organize my life, but I love that I have the option to personalize it instead of going and buying something that's mass produced in the store. I get to create it organically with you, and I get to add watercolor and ephemera and vintage pieces and quotes and all different kinds of paper. So we do actually create those together. I also have how I made my journal, which is from a vintage book. I actually have plans to create a recipe book one, and I also have plans to create a flower press. So this is something else that I really wanted to do with you guys too. So if any of that resonates with you, do hit subscribe. I would be ever so grateful. And I do love the support, makes me so happy. You're certainly not among millions here, so you don't get lost in the rush. And if you do have a comment, I always endeavour to get back to you and say hey and hear about you and your passion and your life as well. So in regards to the paper, I did say this was a new pad, and I have to say, good and bad of it, it was a little different than something that I've used, some of the Mont Martes that I've used in the past and that I love. Again, I have a very organic style, as you can see, and I've always kind of not consciously, I've always picked up a very rough tooth or textured paper because aesthetically it just speaks to my heart and my style. So this one was a little bit different because this is a medium tooth, so it's smoother. And for me, I found, wow, such a difference. So whether or not you are a rough tooth or a hot press, cold press kind of gal or guy, it was definitely very different for me. So I'd love to hear again what you think or prefer below. If me saying hot press, cold press, rough tooth threw you for a loop because you're new to this, just picture that hot press, the difference between, if you want to iron something smooth, you would pick up a hot iron and you would smooth out the creases on a shirt. So just imagine, it helps you remember the difference between the two. Hot pressed has been smoothed. So I'm sure it's not done with an iron. I'm not sure how it's done, but it has been smoothed out. It's a much smoother finish, whereas the cold press has a toothier or a more textured, more character-filled kind of finish, which I love personally because it goes with my style. But if you have a more exacting style, then you may very much prefer a cold press. Either way, we've got a medium here, and I've got an A5 piece of paper that I simply just trimmed in half and then folded neatly into these sweet little gift cards. And on the first one, I started with a sketch, which anyone can do. You could see I just picked up a pencil, very roughly added a semicircle or half moon at the top, which is the stamen. You can see me painting now. And then just some kind of petally shapes, which are, essentially rectangles, weird shaped rectangles. Leaving a little bit of a gap between, so when I'm come in with my watercolor, I don't want it to be blobby, so I want to make sure that I'm leaving lots of white, clean paper that hasn't been touched by water. That way, when it blooms and bleeds and the paint does its thing, it does have lots of character, and it shows the shape of what you're creating, not just a blob. I also found with this paper that when the paint dried on it, it washed out even more than usual, and you will find that your paint that looks quite heavy washes out substantially as it dries. So I did find I had to come back in and keep adding extra pigment to kind of add a bit more drama to it. And it's funny because I struggled with it when I was first painting with it, but now that I'm editing this to share with you, I'm actually finding, like, I'm looking at it thinking I could have just stopped now. Quite honestly, I kind of love it just as it is. I would have come back in with my ink, which was always my intention, and to just add a little bit of definition, and I think it would have looked wonderful. So you could see that it really doesn't take a lot of fiddling and fussing. You could actually do these flowers quite quickly and create some really sweet blooms and flowers and lovely cards to give to someone you love. And now you can see me coming in with my pigment liner. This is a Staedtler pigment liner. As you can see, it's a 0.3. It's perfect for use on this card. It's got just enough of a fine liner without it being too fine or too thick. And then I've just come in and just defined the petals and the leaves. And I really love the way that these came out. And obviously waited till the paint dried. You do have the option, of course, you could actually come in and do your actual pigment liner first, and then you can actually come in and add your paint afterwards, and they don't smudge. So you will actually see, so if you're interested in seeing more cards, I'll link one for you at the end that I actually did it the other way around. Okay, so you can come in and define some details on a card or something like that, and then come in and splash some color around on top of it as well. So as you can see on this one's a fair bit, I still left it quite washed out and gentle. They're both very different from each other, even though they're both loose white blooms or loose white flowers. And again, one was done with the pre-sketch, which is the one that I did first, and this one I did it just coming in with my brush and just feeling my way and having a little bit of fun with that. So again, this is a really inexpensive notebook, so you could do exactly what I did, and I just started with a page originally and did a whole lot of little sketches and things on it, and that's what you saw at the beginning. So I actually made from one sheet of the A5 paper, so that for anybody in my friends in Canada and US, because I have loads of them here there as well. We're looking at it's a 5.8 by 8.3 inch, if that makes sense. Otherwise, A5 if you're on the other side of the world, if you're in Australia like me and you're going by those sizes. So it's half a foolscap, or a little bit smaller than a letter size. But with each of the sheets, I was able to create a card, a gift card, and an envelope. So, you know, inexpensive way to create a cute little card. As you can see, I picked up an envelope I already had that I knew the little cards would fit in. I opened it up and then I laid that down on the piece of paper and I just traced it out to create the card, snipped it out, and then I got my little ruler and I put some pencil lines just so I knew exactly where I was going to score it, which is what I'm doing. So I put the pencil lines in first, and then I went back with my ruler. And this is my blade, my little craft blade. And I'm carefully, because I've actually got the sharp side facing up. So I'm making sure my finger is on the rubber kind of collar, not on the blade, because any pressure at all, even though I'm only putting very light pressure on, but I would put that through my finger. So this, if you're doing this with the kids, maybe this is something you can do yourself, or you could go to the craft store and get one of those paper scorers you can buy. I'm just a big fan of not buying things I don't need to buy if I can make do at home. So as you can see there, I've scored that just really lightly. It makes folding this envelope up just a piece of cake. Look how easy that is. And then I made a little marking where they're going to come in, because I wanted to put these little words, Daisy's bloom, heart, smile. And I thought, how sweet would it be to pull out the gift card to someone you love and them see those words. So I thought that was fun. And on the second envelope, I actually just got my paintbrush and my Paynes and just really randomly and loosely did a whole lot of blooms on the inside, as you can see. And then I just went over that with my ink as well to define the edges before I grabbed some double-sided tape. It just made sure that that wasn't going to, it was going to overlap neatly on those little sides. Make sure it wasn't going to stick onto the card, because it would have torn the card. But I have this cheap, this little thin double-sided tape that I got from a craft store. It was like $2 for a great big roll, and it's perfect. So I just went, oh, which one will I put in here? And as you can see, it's a perfect fit. And I'm actually going to share one of these gift cards and the envelope template as a bonus printable with my Bujo. So my Bujo's has the white blooms in it, and they're in a terracotta pot because I love terracotta pots. So I was so inspired and really enjoying the process this day when I sat down to do this, and I was in my happy place. So I kept going and created the cover for my September Bujo. So I'll link that as soon as that's up, but this video should be live first, as long as my editor behaves itself, because it's been playing up today. This is recorded this voiceover to you many times. So hopefully it works this time around. But as you can see, I then just pull that off and then just glue those down, and there you go. 2 gorgeous little gift cards with 2 sweet little A5 pieces of paper, or 1 foolscap side piece of paper, and you're good to go. So lovely for someone you love. So thank you so much for being here, guys. I know it's a long-awaited watercolor. I hope you love this one, and I will link some of my other watercolor gift cards for you as well. Thanks so much. See you soon.